Hello and welcome. My name is Willie, and today we're going to be talking about easy Zapier integrations. Those of you here may know what Zapier is already, but for those of you who aren't familiar with it, Zapier is a third party site that RoboHead and many thousands of other applications work with. Zapier acts as kind of a middleman in between those applications. It allows you to take information from one application and move it into another, it without having to be a programmer and build everything by yourself. There's a little bit of technical knowledge that's still necessary, but a lot of that is taken care of for you in Zapier itself. So with that, what we are going to go over today is to create three just simple little zaps that should help you automate your workflow in a way. The first one we're going to take a look at is going to be creating requests from different intake forms. I'm using a Google form in this instance, but we know that it works with Google Sheets and hosted Excel files and things of that nature as well. We're going to be taking a look at automatically adding notifications to a Slack channel when a project status is changed. And the final one we're going to look at is going to be uploading final deliverables, again, when a project status is changed, but this time when it's specifically changed to complete. And we're going to be uploading those, in this case, to Google Drive, but this would also work with, Dropbox, or if you're using any of the other major hosting services, they probably have something with Zapier as well that would allow this to happen. So given that, we're going to actually, run all of these to show you how it works. So we're going to take a look here. This is our RoboHead application request list. Nothing currently going on in there. And then this is the Google form that I've set up, creatively titled Project Request Form, and then with just a couple of simple fields: the name, the description, the start date, and the due date. Now, if you're setting this up on your own for your request form, you would want to probably have some more information here, because anything that's required on your request form is also going to be required when you set up a request through Zapier. So, pulling in more information and mapping that to the proper fields is going to kind of be necessary for this to work. So if you haven't seen it before, let's take a look at what Zaps actually look like. I've got three of them created here, the ones we're going to be running through. They're already set up, they're already turned on. Going through and creating these just on the fly and testing and everything is probably a little bit much for the presentation, but we can go through their setup here to give you an idea of what all that takes. So the first one that we're going to be looking at here is just the G form to request one. This one is, as we said, they're all going to be very simple. So this one is just basically taking the information from a new response in a Google form, and it's sending it to RoboHead and creating a request. Now, if you haven't seen these pages before, the setup for Zaps is all going to look relatively similar. It's going to ask you for the application, it's going to ask you for the event, and it's going to ask you for the account. So this is a Google form. The event that it's going to trigger off of is when it gets a new response, and then the account that it pulls from. The configuration for the events here varies from very simple, like this one, where all it's asking for is the specific form that it's looking for, and to, it can be a little bit more complex depending on what you're using. So again, Google form, new response, our project request form, and it's going to grab all of that information. What it does with that information then is we're going to send that to RoboHead as a new request. Again, the setup here is very simple. App is RoboHead, the event is going to have it create a request, and this is the account information that it's going to use. The configuration on this one, however, is a little bit more tricky. This is just the stuff that's actually set up, but if we go into edit it, we'll see that there is a lot more that can be added. So this is all the fields essentially that are on your request form. And you can see ones that are required have the little dot, and those need to be filled out. So what we do with this is we're basically going to be taking the information that was in here, and we need to put it in its proper place in those fields. You would do that by clicking on the plus symbol, and then this is all of the information that it pulled from the Google form. You find the one you need, you click on it, and it puts that value in there. Along with just putting the value from the field in there, you can put in static text as well. So in this one, I want to, let people know in the description that this definitely comes from a Google intake form. So I've put that in there as text, and then I've put the field in there, the description field that was on the Google form in there as well. Likewise, if this is something that you've sent this Google form out to a specific campaign, and these people are all going to be choosing a specific type of project or some other field in there, you can set field values statically as well. So I could choose all of these are going to be social media, and then every request that gets created from this would always have social media chosen in there. We don't need to do that, so we're not going to, but it is an option. And then I've got the start date and the due date filled out, and it'll take those values and pop them into the start date and the due date on the request form. So let's see this in action. If we go over here and we will go to our Google form, and we'll take a look here. We're going to type in a project name, and we'll just type in simple project. The description, this is just a simple description. And hopefully people can type a little bit better than I can at the moment, but simple description of a project. For the start date, we'll choose today. For the due date, we'll choose a week from now, and we'll just submit that. It's submitted my project form. So now let's go over here and let's take a look at RoboHead. And if we look at our RoboHead account and our requests, it might take a moment here, but if we refresh that a couple of times, this should show up in our approver queue. It does have to go through Google and Zapier and whatnot, but it doesn't take too terribly long. So now we see this. If we can click into it, we see all of our request information. It's sitting there. This is the simple project, the simple description of a project. It's got that static text that we put in there to begin with, and the start date and the due date. Now I'm going to go ahead and approve this and make it into a project. Because we'll be using this one then for the next couple of steps that we do here in through Zapier. And the other thing that I'm going to do real quick is I'm just going to add a couple of files. Add a file. We're going to select a couple of files to add, and we're going to apply the final deliverable tag to all of these. So we'll give them a minute to load there. We've got our 3 files, final deliverable tag. Go ahead and save those. Now they're in the project. So we've got a project, and we've got details and files and all of that good stuff tagged as final deliverable. So let's look at the second one of this. The second of our zaps here is the one that is for sending a message into Slack. So status to Slack. Take a look at this guy. Again, this is another very simple little zap, just 2 steps. The first step here is it's looking for RoboHead project status being changed. That's all that it's looking for. If a project status is changed, it's going to grab that information. And then what it's going to do with that is we've got another one set up over here with our Slack information, and we've got, we're telling it where to put that. So we've got a specific channel called Project Updates. We've got the text that we want to go in here. And again, this is pulled from the RoboHead project that we got. So you can choose what values, what fields you want in there. We want the project name, put in some parentheses, the project number. So this looks exactly like it would if you were looking at a project in RoboHead, and then has been updated to, and then the project status. This is a bot, the Zapier name. There's a bunch more information in here, but none of that is, that can all be played with, but none of it's particularly relevant to what we're doing. So let's take a look at this one in action. If we go back to our, we've got a Slack channel here. So you can see that this we've got a Slack page, we've got our project updates channel, and we've got all of that in there. So if we go back to our RoboHead page and our RoboHead project, which is right here, and we take our project actions, and we're going to set this to project started. We put it in in progress when we did it, but we'll put it in project started. And so now we will take a look at our Slack channel here. And we should, in a moment, be seeing that come through as an update. And there they are. It looks like they both came through at the same time. It did trigger off of the one that we put in originally, but it also triggered off of the one that we just put in now. So Zapier has sent a little note through to those, letting them know that our project has been changed to started. So good for historical. You can keep people up to date. So you can specify which channels. You could add in filters that says if a project is, a part of a certain department, then it sends that update to, that department's channel instead. And then the last thing we're going to take a look at here is going to be the final Zap that we've got set up, and that is going to be the one that takes those files that we added and uploads them to our Google Drive. So this one is slightly more complex. It follows the same basic setup, but it's just a little bit more, there's a couple more things that we need to do. The first is we're still looking for the project status being changed. If a project status is changed, then we want to grab that information. But in this case, since we're only looking for things where the status is changed to complete, we need to add a filter. So we're going to add a filter in between that step and the next one that says only continue if the project status is exactly matches complete. If it does match complete, there is an extra step where we need it to pull out the files. We have to add in an extra RoboHead step here that says, okay, now we need you to, that project that you found, we need you to grab all of the files that are tagged as final deliverable and give us that information. And then once it's got that information, we can then configure the Google Zap to where we want it to upload it into my Zap test folder. I want it to grab the results of the files. And then we're going to, since there's more than one file, it's going to upload them in a zip file. So I've told it to name the file with the project name and then the project number. And if we go back to our RoboHead project here, and we go ahead and we update this to complete, project has been successfully updated. We can see now that if we go back to our Slack, we've got that notification should be popping up here in just a moment. There that is. And then if we go over to our Google Drive, now this one may take a moment to actually show up since it does have to zip and upload those folders. But if we take a look here, oh, there we can see that it showed up. And in that zip file, you've got the 3 pictures that were in the project. So These are, just three very quick, very simple little things that you can set up. Would take a lot of manual uploading, would take a lot of just, data input stuff, and make that automatic, for your users to get a little load off of their work. So, appreciate you all coming and sticking around. If you have any questions, feel free to contact us at the support address, and we'd be more than happy to discuss those with you. Thank you very much, and have a good day.